the SEC fans love nothing more than proving that.
Oh,
Like,
against the rest of the
yeah,
country?
like they want to beat each other, and then they want to go face the best team from the Big Ten or the ACC or the Big 12, the Pac-12, and beat the hell out of them, so they could say we are the best conference in the world. If you break off from the college football playoff and you're just insular, and you have your own playoff and you don't play anybody else, then they could crow that they're the best team, their best league in the world all they want, and they might be right, but they're not proving it. And that kind of, I think their ego would not let them do that. Put it that way.
I think it would.
I do too. I think they could just be like, "We're the best. We don't
we
care.
are college football." Like,
Yeah,
oh,
we
this
smoke
other
you
thing that
guys.
y'all do, it's just the lower tier college football. We are the major leagues.
But then prove it. And the reason the SEC
You know what they would do? You know what they would do? I trust me, I've gotten this argument a zillion times. They would be like, "We just won. We've had 12 of the last 17 champions, and look at the NFL draft, and look at how many players we have. We're like." You could just go with history and say, we've gotten even better since then. Why do we waste our time with those?
Memories
schools?
are short. You do that for 5-10 years where you're not playing anybody, and people are gonna be like, "So what have you done in the last 10 years?" Like 20 years ago, I was 20. I'm not anymore. I could say I was, but I'm not anymore.
Nothing would surprise me though. Like if we had multiple national champions again in college football, it wouldn't shock me at all.
How do you feel about it personally?
Oh, I want to see a true playoff where you see representation from around the country. And I think that would actually elevate if you had a bigger TV contract, if you had teams with an expanded playoff in the Pac-12 that were guaranteed a spot, in the new Big 12 guaranteed a spot. I think it would help those teams recruiting wise. I think it would infuse a lot of life into a playoff right now. It would settle a lot of the debates that we have. And it would be great for the sport. I think, like, as much as this is good. Like this creates conversation and it creates chaos and it creates, fan, engagement. I still think it's bad that we don't have a true playoff and it's an invitational.
Yeah, and I don't know how financially viable an SEC only playoff is, because.
Oh, you don't think that would be a massive boon for the SEC?
I think you're limiting your earning potential by doing it, though, because as things stand right now, the college football playoff gets a ton of money because the entire country cares about it. Like, everybody at least is sold the idea. Like, if you expand the playoff, you're selling the idea. So therefore, it becomes a much more marketable television product because Big 10 fans are watching it. Big 12 fans are watching. Everybody's watching it. If it's just an SEC playoff and it's just SEC playing SEC all the time, at some point, people from outside the SEC footprint are not going to care. It's just going to be people in that region of the country who are watching and caring. Now, it's a fervent fan base, and it is going to care a lot, and you will make money off of it. But you're going to hit that ceiling pretty soon because it's at some point, like, you're going to get tired of it.
Which opens the door for expansion.
For conference expansion, like SEC brings in more
Super League. See, that's the thing I've heard from multiple coaches that they feel we're heading in a direction where it's 30, 40 teams, and there's going to be a new look Super League, super conference, whatever you want to call it.
But I think the Power Five can break off on their own and do that, and the SEC doesn't have to break free on its own. I think if the Power Five conferences did that, you would have a monopoly because the group of five conferences are never cracking that nut. And you would be able to control every single aspect of the sport. You would be able to control the revenue. And as long as you're still playing the sport and people are still caring and you're still at the biggest schools in the country with the largest alumni bases, you're going to be able to keep making money off of it. And you're going to be able to do whatever you want with it. So at some point, you're basically, if the SEC goes separate and then the plan is to expand to add more teams, it's like, well, why not just start there?
If you and one last thing on this, do you believe that if the Power Five breakaway were to happen, do you think it's sustainable with do you make a big deal out of the revenue projections? Where people say is like, how are you going to be playing the same game when you've got half the amount of per school revenue that's coming in against the SEC and the Big 10, the ACC and the Pac-12. Big 12's got negotiations coming up soon. Pac-12 has negotiations coming up soon. But the belief would be that you would be not. Does money matter for competitiveness in college football? to you?
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely. Why do you think the SEC and Big Ten have separated?
Money.
Because it really wasn't like, and that's why I get pegged all the time as, this anti-SEC guy. Like 10 years ago, when I was making an argument that they weren't that much better, you had schools and leagues that were competing in the draft. Numbers weren't that different. You were only trailing by a few. It was a lot closer. But as that money from the SEC network has started to trickle in and flow to all the SEC schools, it's made them all stronger. Same thing with the Big Ten, which is why those two conferences have pulled away from everybody else.
Yeah.
So I absolutely think money has a big big part to play in it.
Yeah. I can't remember what the number was after the draft, but it was like nearly half the players selected in the draft were Big Ten or SEC.
Mhm.
It's not.
And it wasn't that like 10 years ago, the ACC was in second.
Yeah.
And they were pretty close. They weren't that far behind. And now they've been eclipsed by the Big Ten, and the Big Ten's pulling away.
Because there's an argument that college football has always had a resource issue, and there've always been programs that have been way ahead of everybody else. But the reason why the projections have brought about this new existential crisis about a breakaway or pulling away or not being able to play on the same field, it has to do with media rights money that is different than it's ever been before. And the fact that these big checks are coming in, not by how many, like the money's not coming in based on how many fans are at your game or even how much money the boosters are giving. It is just a straight check from the conference for you being you. I mean, wouldn't that be awesome if we just got checks for just being us? Didn't even have to like win. You finished last place. Well, congratulations. You get $50 million. You finished first place. You get $50 million. And I think that college basketball has stories of programs with less resources being able to win at a higher level all the time. The argument is in college football, because of everything that is poured into the support staffs, everything that is poured into recruiting facilities, that when we've got this much of a lopsided view of resources, that there's no way to compete. And it is my little idealistic view that programs with less resources should be able to compete, that we should have coaches that are going to be able to show up at some of these programs that are not the SEC and the Big Ten and be able to put together winning seasons based on recruiting and player development. But that seems like I'm going to get laughed out of the room for thinking that'd be the case. Like that would be the motivating factor for the ACC, the Pac-12, and the Big 12 agreeing to enter into a new 45 team, 50 team, 60 team, Super League college football world, is to say like, okay, we know that we are making half the money that they are on an annual basis from our media rights deal, but we believe enough in our coaches. We believe enough in our culture. Like, am I the naive one here for thinking that could still be a competitive college football world?
Kind of, yeah. I think there's a huge difference between basketball and football.
Obviously.
Not just financially, but like it's the financial differences between the two are the byproduct of the sports themselves. Because the reason small budget college basketball programs can compete is that there's 5 guys on the court per team.
Mhm.
So it only takes one guy. Like one player can take over a basketball game. One player can't take over a football game.
That's not true. I saw Cam Newton. No, your point.
There are exceptions, but I'm saying by and
you
large,
also have 5 guys that play both ways. Like you have one player,
Exactly.
he can dominate both sides. He can shut down your best player and score. It's a totally different animal when you're talking about 11 guys on offense and 11 guys on defense, all special. It's different.
Yeah, it's fundamentally different in that obviously at the college level, a great player can change things, but it's not as easy at basketball. I mean, that's the difference between the NCAA tournament and college football. You see upsets in college basketball far more often because one guy gets hot and it can completely change the outcome of a game. Whereas in football, if a guy gets hot, he might have a great game and his team might lose by 3 touchdowns.
Shout out to Nick Foles. And
Mhm.
what was it? A solid verbal in a losing effort back in the day.
Throw for like 550 yards, 4 touchdowns in a losing effort.
Yeah,
Mm.
good stuff. We will leave you with this quote from Scott Strickland, the Florida athletic director. We have an incredibly strong league, one that will be even stronger once Oklahoma and Texas join. The focus should be on how we as a league use that strength to further position the SEC as we face new realities. Commissioner Sankey has encouraged our athletic directors to think creatively, and an SEC-only playoff is a different idea that we should absolutely consider as an option.
Mm.
boy.
I solved the whole thing with one tweet. I think what if we just call the regular season the playoff? Boom. There we go. Now
then
you
at
can
the
sell
end,
it. You could sell it as a playoff. There you go. It's the regular season. It's a great format. You play 9 games, and then the teams with the best records at the end of that 9-game tournament play in the championship game. Boom.
Then it's way too much like soccer. Then you're getting into all these
It's
soccer
where we're
stuff.
going. It's where we're going.
It's called pool play. That's what
Yeah.
we'll do. Like all of the regular season is called pool play. We will be back tomorrow on Thursday with a fresh mailbag episode. So you know what to do. Go ahead and leave us a 5-star review. Put a mailbag question in that review. We will add it to the big old bag of mail and tackle it in a mailbag episode. You can follow him on Twitter at Tom Fornelli. You can follow him at Danny Cannell. You can follow me at Chip_Patterson. Gentlemen, thank you very much.
Thank you.